This president is lying to you about Benghazi in such spectacular fashion that I believe people will go to prison. This is impeachable. The president might go to prison for this one. What is happening with Benghazi is so far beyond lying. It is staggering. I told you that this ambassador was involved in running guns. And he was running guns to Al-Qaeda in Libya. And he was running guns through Turkey into Syria. And whether it was a deal that went bad, I don't know. But that's what happened. And the White House knew. And as everyone else is still arguing about whether it was the videotape or not, we have been furthering the story. Today, we have evidence that is staggering. We now have a memo posted from the Blaze. We now have a memo to the White House 2 hours after the attacks began. At 1 o'clock or 12:54 in the afternoon on September 11th, the White House was warned that there was somebody watching the Benghazi safe house. So you know, do not let any member of the press get away with calling this a embassy safe house. It is not. It was a CIA safe house. Now, why, in the most dangerous place, in one of the most dangerous parts of the world, on September 11th, when the ambassador knows he's under attack, the documents now show he wrote the night before and said, "Help me, there's trouble." Why would he be at a CIA safe house? What was he doing there? He was having dinner with the General Council of Turkey. Turkey fancies itself the head of the caliphate. The Turkish ambassador and Barack Obama, it has been widely reported that that's really his only real friend in foreign policy. That is the guy he called first when he won the presidency. Not England, not Israel, but the Turkish ambassador. This guy's a Sharia law guy. Why was the General Council of Turkey meeting with our ambassador at a CIA safe house on September 11th? And here's where it gets strange. At 12:54, the White House, in emails to the Situation Room, the White House is alerted there are people watching our safe house. The ambassador and the Turkish General Council are in the safe house having dinner. And there are people watching the exits. That's what the memo says. They're watching the exits. One guy says, "I don't know if we're going to get out of here alive." So we know that they know inside this is serious. We don't know if we'll get out of this one alive. An hour after that, the Turkish ambassador leaves through the front door and the front gate, unmolested. Now you tell me, why was the Turkish ambassador there, or the Turkish General Counsel there? Why was he there? Why were they having dinner? Why was it so important on September 11th to go to the most dangerous city, to a CIA safe house? An hour after he leaves, the fight begins. We now know that the White House sent a drone. Somebody, the military, somebody sent a drone. So there was a live video feed of what was going on. They're watching it in the State Department. They're watching it at the Pentagon. They're watching it at Langley, and they're watching it in the Situation Room. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Leon Panetta has a meeting with the President of the United States. The first email comes at 4:05. So the Secretary of Defense arrives at the White House to have a meeting with the President 55 minutes after the Situation Room and everybody else gets an email saying, Libya, the safe house, is under attack. That's 3 hours after the president got the first warning that somebody was watching the safe house. So they all know that something's going down there. At 4:05, first email comes in, says we're under attack. Leon Panetta arrives at the White House at 5 o'clock for a meeting with the president, the vice president, in the Oval Office. Now, how they can have a drone, the Secretary of Defense, and an ambassador under attack and not say, hey, what do you say we catch the 505 elevator downstairs to the Situation Room and watch what's going on? Let's get briefed in the Situation Room and find out what's going on. They have all of the information there. 4:54 Washington time. There's another report to the Situation Room. The embassy in Tripoli has reported that firing at the U.S. diplomatic mission in Benghazi has stopped and the compound had been cleared. Said the response team was at the site attempting to locate missing personnel. At 6:07 that night, to the Situation Room, attack update number 2. Ansar al-Sharia claims responsibility for the Benghazi attack. Ansar al-Sharia is the group that we were dealing with in Libya, giving them guns. This is why the White House covered, because our ambassador was killed by a guy we were running guns to, and we are still running guns today. Russia today is verifying that U.S. Stinger missiles are in the hands of the Syrian rebels. The Syrian rebels, which are connected to Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood. We also have a report now from the New York Times that we are using the Muslim Brotherhood to arm the rebels in Syria. This president is on the wrong side. It is so crystal clear. You can, at this point, you can begin to make a case for treason. But let's just take it one step at a time. The President of the United States of America, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, have all lied to you. They have lied to you and said, this might be a video. We don't have all the information. The information is still sketchy. It's confusing. No, we now have the documents. We now have the documents that came into the Situation Room saying there's an attack, they're watching. Then we have the documents that we have a live video feed in the Situation Room so they could see that there was no protest. Then there are the documents, and there's now 13. With this new one, there's now 13 different documents saying it's a terrorist attack, and here's the group that's doing it. And they lied to you. Why would they lie to you? Why would they do that? You need to hear.
Who was on protective detail? This is so important. Who were the guys that were standing next to the ambassador? Who were they? What were they doing in the area of Benghazi? Why did they spontaneous crowds have RPGs and laser-accurate mortar fire? That doesn't make sense. Are you walking down the street and you're like, hey, what are we going to do tonight? I don't know, but I brought my RPG. Why was the most important person there, the ambassador, left for dead while everybody else made it out? Who is this ambassador? He travels with 2 or 3 security people. We were told first that they were Marines. Now we find out that they're Navy SEALs. But when we did our investigation into one of them, we found an interview that one of them gave just before his death. And he said he was, quote, on an intelligence mission, do we have this? On an intelligence mission to round up dangerous weapons in the war-torn nation. Okay, protective details, that's not what they do. They don't go looking for shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles. They don't go in and try to find Libyan extremists. They don't do that. They are to protect the ambassador. Who does that is a former Navy SEAL who's now on a CIA mission. Now, this isn't stated in that interview, but it can clearly be inferred that they are rounding up any old weapons, not any old weapons that we provided. Remember, it was just last year that the Obama administration declared it would help the rebel forces in Libya, and somebody brokered a deal in Benghazi to give them the weapons. Obama himself was considering supplying them with weapons. Here he is.
Are you ruling out U.S. military hardware assistance?
I'm not ruling it out, but I'm also not ruling it in. We're still making an assessment.
They ruled it in. Obama ended up giving Libyan rebels aid, $25 million in aid, but of course it came with a strict, hey, don't go buying bad weapons with this, guys. It's just for food. I'm sure it has a sticky note on it. We've reported before that the Libyan rebels, we took them seriously. The White House didn't, and I remember saying for a long time, we are arming al-Qaeda. It wasn't long after that reports surfaced that we may be on the same side as al-Qaeda, who wanted to get rid of Gaddafi just as badly, apparently, as we did. The Libyan rebel leader said that he had many members of al-Qaeda fighting on the front lines with him. We reported this to you. The rebel leader admitted that he himself fought against the United States in Afghanistan before being captured in 2002. We had him in custody, and then we released him. So we know these people are not our friends, and history has taught us this. Yet we are told to believe that Ambassador Stevens, in a story in the New York Times, just loved and had a heart for the regular Libyan people. He was a regular guy. You know, okay, at times, according to the story, he snuck into war-torn countries on cargo ships in the middle of the night, you know. And he also goes into really bad areas at night, riding around in non-armored cars with CIA agents. Oh, and he was a teacher in the mountains of Morocco who traveled around, you know, Europe an awful lot. Boy, that sure sounds like your average pencil pusher diplomat, doesn't it? CIA is what it sounds like to me. And the security guys. Well, let me say that I have a couple of guys on my detail that have worked for the State Department before. And when I said, hey, did you guys, what about the finding weapons and stuff? They thought I was crazy. They said, that's not what you do if you're on a security detail. Yeah. But what if I told you the guy who did it said that's what he did, and he was, you know, guarding? They all stopped and looked and said, wait. This is what the CIA operatives do. So let me draw another hypothesis. Stevens is not just your kindly, friendly neighborhood ambassador. He was the CIA weapons dealer in the region. He, I believe, probably was the guy that helped make that deal. Now, that may not be right, but it is certainly more plausible than, oh, he just got caught up. He wanted to go shake the hands of children in a really dangerous area in the middle of the night. And he didn't know that people watched a crappily edited, non-watched YouTube video, and it just erupted. Really? The 9/11 thing, it was just a coincidence. Okay, so here we are going up to an election, and the Middle East is starting to melt down, and the U.S. government is needing to look into the missiles, because they don't want any missiles. Where did all those missiles go? Got to find out who has them, because God forbid we find out who supplied them to the terrorists. So these guys go and they find a cache of surface-to-air missiles. Maybe, I don't know what happens. Maybe they have to meet, and they say, no, we meet with the guy who made the deal. These are the same missiles that we would supply during the revolution to take out the aircraft of Gaddafi. The agents are forced to call in the ambassador, our CIA weapons dealer, and he flies in on short notice. He gets into an unmarked, unarmored car to not draw attention, and he goes to meet with them. Somehow or another, the meeting or something along the way goes south, and they have to take him to the closest safe house, which ends up being a poorly secured consulate building that is brand new, with bars on the window. It's nothing more than a rental house. This is when Sean Smith sends out the message. He doesn't call the White House or the State Department because he's not a State Department guy. He has to send a message. So what does he do? He then goes online to the gaming community. And he goes online to a gaming website, and he says, people are surrounding us and taking pictures of the building. We're in a safe house in Benghazi. I hope we get out alive. Now, do you really believe this guy, a Navy SEAL, suddenly has the urge to do some online gaming when people are watching the house and they're in trouble? No. CIA. Message, get us out of here. Everyone is reporting that Sean Smith posted this. His warning makes it painfully obvious that attacks were planned, not to mention the powerful and precise nature of the attacks. So, which scenario do you think is more plausible? That a YouTube video with only 40,000 views, which was much lower than that. That 40,000 views, that's after the attack on 9/11. That caused this spontaneous attack? Or the bad guys in Benghazi followed the ambassador in, were going to kill him and the CIA agents, and then to draw them out, they watched the exits and waited, and then called their other buddies and say, go do a protest. Got to get that, got to smoke them out, as George Bush used to say. No, it's much more likely than a spontaneous ragtag protesters pulling off a high-level power assault. Will the media press the Obama administration on the mission to recover weapons in Libya? I mean, can you imagine a scandal that if it were to come out that Obama supplied the terrorists, our enemies, with weapons to attack and kill our own embassy and ambassador? Can you imagine if it would come out that our State Department would actually negotiate with Egypt after a terrorist attack to release the blind sheik? Will the media, the press the Obama administration on what appears to be a blatant cover-up? What are they covering? Or will they allow it to slide? Probably the Libya part's going to have to just continue to imagine it. And I mean, unless someone in the mainstream media finds, oh, I don't know, a spine and a desire for the truth. Right now, they don't have it. You see, I believe Americans need to know if their president is a crook. The truth lives here. Spread the message.